June 3rd, May is already gone, and it was the busiest month the company has ever had. We did about 1,300 pounds of mushrooms. I've never done that much production in 1 month, and we actually made 3 farmers markets last month. So it was a really awesome month, very productive. We've been working on a lot of different projects. We've worked on this shade cloth that covers our whole production area now. What's really slick about it is it does unhook just right up here, and we can actually slide it all the way back and open up this area to sunshine for the colder months if we're looking to warm up. But other than that, we just have this area covered so that we don't overheat. And now that this structure is up as well, this is helping block out a lot of sun. Last year I was just working with this one structure, and we put up a pop-up tent, and it gets super hot out here. So a lot of little projects we've been working on, but specifically we're in the transition month for the business, so we're just about to get our summer strains producing in our greenhouses, and I have that to show you in greenhouse 4. But really stoked to see how busy this month was, and personally it was a really big challenge for me because Faith and I, we actually just got married about 12 days ago, and one of the biggest challenges I had to overcome is I had to keep this business running. So I hired 2 new employees this month, and with that there was challenges. I had to get them trained up, and that takes time, and it's a new situation for me because I'm only used to working with 1 employee. So that came with a lot of challenges, a lot of my time, but I got everyone trained up, and I actually managed to have a day off today, which I haven't had in about 2 months, and everything still got done on the farm. So I had Kara, Clay, and Jerry here, and they made sure that production was done, and I had some time to rest up, but now I have some time to shoot this vlog for you and kind of just give you an update of what's going on the farm. So the last video that I put up, we were having problems with our grain spawn, and I've had a little bit more time to reflect and put some thought into what exactly is happening. I've started running a temperature and humidity reading in our lab. Something I have never really done is paid attention to how much humidity this lab can get. With our system, it's really unique. We're actually drawing in air from outside, and it's mixing. Underneath here, we've designed a plenum, so it's mixing recirculated air in this lab, which is temperature controlled, either with AC or heating, depending on the season. I have one in the front and one in the back. And the airs mix underneath the table, and then the flow hood is the life of the system for our lab. So this is what brings in all the fresh air. However, it's been super rainy, really wet this year, and with that, this lab has been extra humid, something that doesn't usually happen here because we live in a dry desert here in the Okanagan, and moisture in the air is not usually a concern at all. So what I think, now that I've had some time to reflect, is happening here is this lab is actually running very humid, and it's actually, the humidity in here was higher than what was in the bag, and we're getting a lot of condensation. You can still see a little bit of residual here. And the thing is if there's more humidity in the air compared to what's in the bag as it's colonizing and it's heating up, we're actually going to possibly have an exchange of moisture with this filter patch here. Definitely as the bags are heating up, and there's the temperature differential between the cool air and the bags heating up, we're going to get condensation in these bags as well. And either way, the condensation is essentially dripping onto the uncolonized grain, and then the grain is starting to swell up, and then bacteria is spreading throughout the bag. And we lost about 100 to 110 grain bags, and that was 2 runs in May during the really wet part of the season for that month. So maybe the lab is running too humid, and those are the problems that we're experiencing. Or the second thing that I'm considering is that when we were bagging the grain, it possibly didn't dry enough. We usually let the grain drip dry for about 6 hours, and then we bag it up. But what if those days were super humid and the grain is actually not drying off as much as it was in the past? So possibly we bag the grain too wet, with the combination of these bags heating up, moisture is accumulating in the bag, and we're getting a lot of condensation. So I'm going to have some stuff to post on the YouTube channel soon, stuff that I'm going to try to figure out exactly what was going on, and I'll come up with a couple different trials to see if we can kind of narrow down the problem. But for my business, unless I want to run a dehumidifier in this lab, maybe I just focus on sawdust spawn, and that's going to be what we want to do moving forward. I have some of that in lab 1, and I'll show you that right now. So we're just about to do another production run in here tomorrow. We have some sawdust spawn and wood chip spawn. These bags will actually cool in here for 24 hours. They've already cooled in our tanks for 24 hours, so it's about a 48-hour cool down. I'm going to be running these different types of mycelium. We're doing tomorrow, we have some slow strains, so we're going to do one of these jars per sawdust bag. So we have some almond portobello, bluet, and milky mushroom, and then the normal jars, we normally do 1 jar per 2 bags. So we're working on a little bit of reishi, and we're working on the rest of our warm weather elm oyster strain. This strain actually originated from Oregon. Jay Schindler made this strain from spores, and we're using that now. It's a really nice large fruit body warm weather strain. So we call this HU006. And then we have for the wood chip bags, we're going to transfer. We have 4 bags of spawn of the same HU006 that did survive, and we're working with a lion's mane strain that I got from Eric from Cap and Stem. This is a new strain that I'm working with that I'm really excited to get into production. So out of the bags we lost, we have a couple bags here that did survive. They look pretty decent. There's no bacteria, and we have good colonization. And we've transferred our sawdust spawn now, and this was done a couple days ago, so we have stuff that's just starting to grow, and I suspect this is going to work out really well for us. So some of these sawdust spawn bags, they're 2nd generation, some are 3rd generation, where we've actually taken these G2 bags that did work out, and we transferred that to sawdust, and then I'm going to transfer that to wood chip spawn. So we're about maybe 3 weeks behind from what I wanted for some of this stuff, but I've made adjustments. We had extra lion's mane spawn, we've had extra of our cold weather elm oyster strain that I've expanded into more wood chips, and we're just kind of keeping production going and making things work as they come. But really excited to see all of this sawdust spawn taken off already, and I suspect it's going to work out really well for us. So this greenhouse has been operational for about 2 weeks. We've got the first flush off the top 2 shelves, but we have the first flush just starting on the bottom 2. And then I have this top shelf here actually is our first flush as well. Also have a new mushroom that I've been working on for a couple years now called the chestnut mushroom. This is Foliota aptiposa, if you guys can see that. This is a really slow growing strain, but really delicious. We actually charge chefs about $14 a pound for this, just because it does take up a little bit more time in the greenhouse and it takes up more time in the lab, but it's definitely worth a little bit of extra money. Definitely one of my favorite mushrooms, and we're trying to push the limits with this strain right now. We seem to be able to grow it for most of the summer unless it gets super hot. We have a really nice cluster just starting right there, just to show you. So this strain, I have lots of different successions kind of going out for the next couple months, and we're playing around with a lot of different wood types. We have some poplar, apple, which we've done a lot of different experiments with this month, and I have some bags of apple with chestnuts starting in greenhouse 4. I'll take you into that right now. We also have a new wood type called Mountain Ash. Both the apple and the Mountain Ash worked out great. I haven't harvested anything yet, but I was really happy with how quickly the mycelium did colonize the substrate. As a general rule, I think what I'm starting to realize is that you can pretty much grow mushrooms on any kind of hardwood species. When you do sterilize it, you actually make a lot of the antifungal compounds that might be in the wood inert, and you actually turn it into a suitable substrate in most cases that most mushroom mycelium can digest and fruit mushrooms. And all you need to be concerned with is just adding enough nutrition. In our case, we add some bran, and you're going to be able to get a pretty good yield. So all these T7s, you guys can see T7s, that's Mountain Ash, and then T4s, this is apple. So this is all chestnut on the top shelf here. And I have a new, not a new strain, but a new strain for this year. We're just transitioning right now from cold to hot, and we use our cold weather Elm Oyster strain. This is a strain from Fungi Perfecti that I've been using for a while. So we get a really nice pin set just starting here. On both sides of the greenhouse, some over there. So Elm Oyster is a strain that I grow throughout the entire summer, but the warm weather Elm Oyster, the 006 that I have from Jay Schindler, really doesn't do well below 22 Celsius, whereas this strain likes to start growing between 15 to 20 Celsius and can handle up to 35. I just don't like it at its peak temperature, so I prefer to grow this strain as a transition strain as we move from spring into summer. And then once we hit peak summer, we're going to be growing the 006 Elm Oyster, Pink Oyster, Yellow Oyster, and I have a really nice Lion's Mane strain that does really well in the heat. So that's what we're working on right now, guys. We've really bumped up production this year. As I said, we did about 1,300 pounds of mushrooms last month. But what's crazy is that we have anywhere between one or two greenhouses right now that's actually always empty. We're unable to actually fill these greenhouses with the infrastructure we have right now. So this one is empty here, and this one is empty here. These greenhouses are just cleaned and ready to go. You know, last year we were doing about 350 to 400 blocks per greenhouse, and we've really pushed our limits this year, and we're doing about 850 blocks in most cases per greenhouse. And with that, we just don't have enough lab space or enough sterilization capacity to actually handle what we have on here. So hopefully we'll have a good year, and our next focus will be probably adding 2 more sterilization tanks to our system and probably building another lab. And we haven't really talked about it yet, but it's probably going to be pretty similar to this design of Lab 2. We've been really happy with it. So it's probably going to go just at the end of Pad 7, and we'll be working on that hopefully this winter so that we can start maximizing our capacity at this farm here and hopefully start getting Greenhouse 6. Anyways, guys, other than that, I'm going to be attending a permaculture workshop tomorrow with Rick Hatch. Rick actually interned on our farm. He was our first intern 3 years ago, and since then he's started a permaculture business called Cherry Tree Permaculture, where he offers permaculture design. He does workshops and likes to educate people, and he has a really nice model farm on his property in Penticton. And I like to stay in contact with Rick because he's got a lot of really cool ideas, and he's doing this awesome workshop in Garnet Valley, actually, probably just about 10 minutes down the road. So I'll be attending that tomorrow. and really just to show up for my, or to offer my support. But what's really cool is I just happen to have some King Stropharia. So I always do a bunch of King Stropharia. I don't really advertise it, but I like to have some on the farm. So I have a bunch here. I'm probably going to drop in tomorrow, and I'll offer 4 of these bags for the workshop, and we'll see what you can do with that. So if I have time, I will do some footage of the workshop. I'll put it on the YouTube channel here. I'm going to leave Rick's YouTube channel link below. I'm going to try to get him to start making videos like this, because I think he has a lot to offer, and I'm hoping that you guys will appreciate what he's teaching. Other than that, guys, with that King Stropharia, I do have one really interesting thing that I'm working on right now. Not entirely sure if the temperature will be right here. What I didn't talk to you guys about is that I had Jay Schindler from Fungi for the People Here 2 weeks ago. He actually came down for my wedding, and we started talking about King Stropharia, and he mentioned that he's been doing King Stropharia inoculations with straw or wood chips and with chicken poop, and how King Stropharia really thrives with any kind of bacteria that you can introduce into your patch. I've never seen a King Stropharia patch actually fruit until you get to the next season. So typically I would be inoculating a patch in the fall or in the spring, and then in the fall or the spring after that we're going to actually see mushrooms. And he claimed he got mushrooms after 6 weeks of starting his patch. So that started getting me thinking. I have some really nice compost that we've been aging for about 4 years on our farm. All it is just made out of our spent blocks, and we just turn it over and let nature do its thing. So what I've done is I've actually cased some King Stropharia with our compost. So I took 4 of these blocks and I just sprinkled a little bit of our fresh wood chip based compost, and I'm hoping that by introducing a little bit of bacteria on top of these Stropharia blocks, it's going to initiate them to start fruiting. Assuming that the temperatures do stay below 25 Celsius for the next couple weeks, possibly these kits are actually going to start fruiting mushrooms. So I'm super stoked. You know, then I might introduce flies into the greenhouse, or I might get some kind of contamination because it is unsterilized compost. But I did dig into the center of the pile. It was still super warm, and I didn't really put that much on there. So I'll monitor it, make sure that there's nothing growing there I don't like. But really the idea is to introduce some bacteria on top of the King Stropharia.